Hello and welcome to Gentle Yoga. We're at the ACC's community room. I'm Jeani, and we're going to have a great practice of a little bit of warm-up. Our walking meditations kind of helps us to get everything moving so that by the time we start into our balance pose and then eventually cooling down to the mat, we'll have a full body experience of hopefully movement that will benefit you. So if you've done any heavy activity during the week, just be mindful of how the body's responding. It's a great time at the start of this practice. We'll start at the back of the mat to kind of check in with the body, see how your body is responding to just our warm-ups, and then you can go from there. I'm also cueing, hopefully, with more of the chair in mind for those of us who have limited mobility and getting up and down from the floor, or even doing our walking meditations. You can always stand in place. You can even just lift your feet and hold the chair or hold blocks, or maybe you're at home near a wall or a tabletop that you can use as well. Just make sure it's stable. The chair has at least 2 feet on something that's not going to slide, and that should help you. So that being said, let's go ahead and start at the back of the mat. And we're just going to notice how we're arriving here. You may have ran to the car and back. You might just be catching up to your breath. So just notice a little bit of how the heart is beating. See how the legs feel. If you've been walking a great deal and they're tight, keep a gentle bend to the knees. If the volume is not up, we will turn it up. There we go. Just give yourself a moment to check in. We'll begin to connect to our breath. Bring our left palm to rest on our chest, right palm under the belly button. Maybe you can feel the heart beating with the heart hand. And as you feel the breath enter the nose and exit the nose, notice how that feels in the body. And then we'll begin to focus on bringing a more intentional yogic breath to our awareness. As we have the air enter the nose in the inhale, feel the chest, hand lift. Maybe the rib cage expands outwardly, collarbones lifting at the top of the inhale. And that's just by the virtue of the breath, not by any movement of the collarbones itself. And a slight pause before we slowly, with a little more control, exhale through the nose once more. Feeling the air empty from the lungs, from the belly. We can gently press in the belly hand to remind us to engage the core at the bottom of the exhale, if it's not already slightly engaged. That's one full breath cycle. Let's give ourselves a few more. And at the start, we tend to be shallow breathers, especially if you've been rushing around. Maybe 1 to 2 second breath cycles. But by the end of this breath exercise, we might see something like a 5 to 6 second long breath cycle. We'll finish cultivating the yogic breath with some auditory sound, some sort of sound that you can hear the back of the throat, both the inhales and the exhales. All right, and then we'll relax our arms down to our sides. Feel the square foot range of your foundation of home base. And with the next inhale, start to feel energy from the earth traveling up the legs, the spine, to the crown of the head and beyond. And then on the exhale, feeling that energy, reverse order back down the body, feeling just a little more rooted by the time that energy finds the earth. And then we can inhale, start to slowly tip the body forward. Feel actually the center of gravity tipping towards the toes. The body is an upright one unit column. At the top of the inhale there, we can pause briefly before we start to slowly roll the center of gravity at the soles of the feet towards the heels. Fully exhaled at almost a tipping point here. We'll go ahead and start that heel to toe alignment with the next few breath cycles. Notice again how that feels in the body. Sometimes if our balance is challenged, we'll have different muscles, typical, atypical from what we tend to use. Notice if you have any achiness that's causing you to use those ancillary muscles. Try to bring that center of gravity with just a shift of the weight from the heels to the toes and back. We'll meet at center. Feel that somewhere at the top of the ankles. And as you return to your mountain, just a little longer and stronger with each iteration, we'll feel our legs just getting a little bit longer. We'll go ahead and inhale all the way through to the crown of the head. So all we have to do is exhale, feel that shift subtly towards the outer right edge of the feet. Inhale back to center. Exhale over, 3-part breath. Or just use each inhale and exhale, 2-part breath, to explore this horizontal mapping of our foundation. The feet are always in contact with the mat, but we're just feeling that subtle shift of the center of gravity rolling from one side of the feet to the other. And then we'll meet right back at center once more. Resetting our mountain if we need to. Inhale, feel a little longer, the stretch getting a little taller. And then we can start to make small circles with the entire body, like a wooden stick in a pot, with the contact point with the pot staying there in one spot. Think about your ankles with circles radiating outwards, finding the very edge of your feet. And it might be circular, it might be choppy, it might be more square, but just notice how that feels. Once you identify the perimeter, let's bring in the circles and spiral on back to home base. Coming back into our mountain, resetting with an inhale, just a little longer. We're going to make small circles, same area around the ankles, but in the opposite direction. See if you can keep the body one long column as you stir, so to speak, at the base here around the ankles until they find the perimeter of your feet. And it may be a different journey. You might find some tightness, or you might not. Then we'll tighten in the circles. We'll meet right back at center, right back in our home base of mountain. Go ahead and lift the feet one at a time. Do what feels good to you to reset and relieve yourself of any still activated muscles from that last pose. We'll come back to our mountain, feeling nice and tall here. Let's say we're going to start to shift our weight from one side of the body and feel the feet actually bearing a little more load with each side. As you get more and more of the load onto one side, you'll start to notice if you can pivot the feet outward, that the torso starts to face a little more of that side. As it does so, you can kind of pivot on the heel, bring out the toes, lifting them so that the side your torso faces has that ball of foot to the toes lifted so we can protect our knees. But we're just slowly introducing movement in all of our major joints, trying to find a little lubrication there. And with that action of not really actively moving the arms, but just twisting gently at the waist, we may find the arms, the hands, just gently tapping against a side. Or we just might find ourselves moving to that side. Wherever you are, do that a little bit, and then we'll come on back to center, back to our home base. Pivot in the toes and the heels. Come on back to that 1 square foot foundation. You can always roll up to the balls of the feet, lift the toes, and let each toe individually come on back down. Feel that internal rotation of the thighs. If you have a tendency to kind of roll towards the outer edge of your feet, you want to keep a good distribution of weight on all points of the soles of the feet by this time. A tucking under of the tailbone, and we'll start to come up to our shoulder rolls. Gentle bend to the knees once more if you have tightness in the legs. And with the palms facing forward to keep the shoulders rolling inward, we're going to inhale, allow the shoulders to lift towards the ceiling. At the top of the inhale, pause briefly before you exhale, roll them back, and just let the arms just relax down the sides, and hopefully the shoulder blades follow along. Fully exhale to engage the core. We're doing a total of 4 breath cycles worth of these shoulder rolls. Lifts up, rolls back on the exhale. Allow that inhale to gather all the energy enough to inflate the chest. Allow the exhale to slowly release. A little longer exhale, and you'll find maybe something releases, something relaxes that you weren't aware of being tight. One last one for me. And then we're going to continue with the second set. Inhaling, up go the shoulders, but this time we roll them forward. Still down the back go the shoulder blades, like angel's wings, tucking into the mid-back. See if you can feel that at the upper shoulders, the base of the neck. Use that slow yogic breath to feel each of these warm-up movements. And then we'll go ahead and move on up to the neck and above. Reset the mountain once more if you need to. And we'll go ahead. Feel that energy drawing from the feet, the legs, all the way up the body like a string being held all the way up towards the ceiling. Gentle tuck of the chin. And all you need to do is exhale. Let the right earlobe relax towards the right shoulder. Both shoulders still stay in one line, as do all the rest of the major joints in balance. Inhale, find that lift at the sternum. Exhale, turn the gaze if you have not already. Palms facing forward help you to keep those shoulders rolled away from the ears. In the next 4 breath cycles, we're just relaxing the left side of our neck and just assisting that release on the left side of the neck on up to the top of the skull. You might just have your eyes resting on the right side. With each passing exhale, maybe they just rest a little more, or they may just stay where they need to be. But even the eyes can help assist in releasing any tension still on that side of the face, the throat. And after the last exhale, we can inhale the eyes back into the gaze. The gaze will turn. The crown of the head lifts completely by the top of the inhale. So all we have to do is let the left earlobe float towards the left shoulder. Both shoulders still in line. If the right shoulder lifted, just allow it to exhale back down in line with the left. Turn the gaze on the exhale if you haven't already. And let the yogic breath help you slowly release any tension on the right side of the neck, top of the shoulders, even the eyes. You may find your eyes resting somewhere in front of the shoulder. Maybe by the end of the last breath cycle, it's at the shoulder or even behind the shoulder. Let it unfold organically without any force. And after that last exhale, we can inhale the eyes, the gaze, the crown of the head all the way back up. So all we need to do is let the eyes float downward, resting there at the top of the mat, about 6 feet in front of you. Inhaling, we feel that lift at a slight diagonal at the top of the head. And exhaling, feeling just a little more rooted, this time from the shoulders all the way down to the soles of the feet. Everything nice and relaxed, not using any muscles unnecessary to support the body. And focusing on releasing any tension found with each slow inhale. Letting it go, especially around the neck, earlobes, crown of the head, the brow line, with each exhale. And after that last breath cycle, we can inhale the eyes back to the midline, past the midline, and somewhat above us. Once we can see there, we can stop craning the back of the neck. We don't want a deep C curve at all, but we do want to be able to look somewhat above us, rolling the eyes upwards, and using the next 4 breath cycles, see if you can release any tension, perhaps in the jaw. Small O opening with the mouth to a larger O opening. You can even let the tongue loll out and give it a good sigh. And gently closing the mouth, slightly loose. You might just gently sway the lower jaw from side to side. See if you hear any crunchy, poppy sounds right there at that jawline hinge, right near the ears. An engaged core to keep your body upright and remind yourself to be stable there. And when you're done with your last exhale, you can slowly let the eyes come on back to the midline. And then we'll just shake out any residual holding of muscles from that last pose. Sometimes that happens and you're just not aware of it. And then we'll begin our forward folds. If you have blocks near you, if you have a chair near you, you can always walk up to the chair. You don't have to do the walking meditation. You can always just walk in place if you need to. But we're going to start by folding. We'll find this energy in our fingertips, reaching downwards. Let's inhale, extend the arms while we're still reaching up towards the head. And then briefly pause before we exhale slowly, hinging at the hips. You can stick the tailbone back behind that starting point. You can start to imagine bending the knees if you aren't able to hinge right here at the hips. But by pressing at the balls of the feet, you open up the hips and you should be able to bring that hinge right there. You can slowly, or if you have good mobility, just float on down. You can walk the hands down. You're just basically coming to your first fold. If you're really stiff in the back, you might have more of a half lift position. It may help to have the blocks to sort of rest your hands onto if you can reach them. Or maybe it's the seat of that chair. Maybe it's the forearms, the back of the hands on your thighs. Wherever you are, you're just focusing on maintaining that support from the heels all the way to the hips. You can bend the knees if you need, dropping down the tailbone a little more. But once you've got that established and you're not rolling out or in at the feet, you've got that nice, strong, balanced support of the lower limbs, then hopefully you can focus on releasing from the tailbone down the spine, down the neck, to the crown of the head.
And eventually more and more of the chest gets closer to the thighs. And the length of the back gets just a little longer, a little more relaxed, while you're still maintaining the support at the lower body. See if your arms can be relaxed like wet noodles, whether they're supported or just dangling there in the midair with the help of gravity. Your arms, your neck even, might just help to give yourself a little yes and no gestures with the head. Just see if you're holding on to the weight of the head with the neck. See if you can release. And breathing. Even in this folded state, if you can breathe deeply, you might have that sideways expansion of the rib cage. And engaging the core to keep you nice and stable. Then as we prepare to come out, we'll do so on an inhale with a slow roll up back to the top. You can use the blocks, you can just use your core, or you can walk your hands up, but either way we're inhaling, stepping into our feet, firming our thighs, the core is engaged, and as we come on up one vertebra at a time, think about pressing into the feet, tucking under the tailbone, and pressing the hips forward. And then we'll fold one more time. Inhaling, reaching downwards, and we will lift the arms up, and then exhaling, engaging the core, starting to hinge at the hips, pressing the tailbone back, float on down, walk on down, just simply fold into a second fold. This time it's not as long, it's about 3 breath cycles this time. But once more, see if the foundation at the feet have changed. You want that hips to feet stability so that you can focus on relaxing the upper body. You might have your hands once more somewhere at the thighs, on the chair, on the blocks, or just dangling in the air, or maybe touching the mat. Maybe your palms are fully on the mat. You do want to have that internal rotation of the thighs. Make sure you're not rolling at this foundation of the feet, neither towards the toes or heels or outer or inner edge. You want that center right there at the tops of the ankle. And breathe deeply. We're looking directly below us, but eventually more of our crown of the head may be focused towards the mat so that our gaze may eventually move towards our inner ankles. Well, you do you. And notice where you are. And after your last 3rd breath cycle, we're going to come out once more, your choice of either a slow roll up on the inhale or with a straight back. Either way, grab your blocks if you're using them, but you can bring your hands to heart center or together in prayer. You can lift all the way up, reaching all the way up, pressing those hips up and forward, and exhaling hands down heart center. And then we'll start with our walking meditation. Pressing into the palms, engaging the core. Inhale, standing weight to the left side of the body. Once you've got that stability there, you can lift the right heel, lift the entire foot. And it doesn't have to go up high. You don't have to lift the knee high, but just step it forward and then exhale that foot forward. You can launch from that back foot. Feel that load of your center on that front foot before you start to inhale the other foot up. Engage the core. And you might have to tap down a few times. You might fall out. That's okay. But bring the front next foot forward, and then bring your right foot up on the inhale. And it's 1 full breath cycle per step. Fully exhaled. You'll find your forward foot, then carrying the balance so your back foot can bring its forward. And to challenge yourself, you can always make the step higher or further out, just slightly, kind of freezing in the mid-air if you'd like. But it's 1 full breath cycle per step.
And we'll eventually meet at the top of the mat. And here, looking down at the hands, fingertips or block tops, pressing into the palms, lifting them up. Separate the palms and exhale, hinge once more into another forward fold, slowly or quickly, or floating, somewhere in between. You can walk your hands to the chair, to the blocks, to the thighs. Fully exhaled in your fold. See if you can lengthen with the next inhale through the legs and through the back for a 90-degree angle. Maybe it's more of a 45-degree angle, but you can have your tailbone kind of sticking out if you can feel that, so that you have more of an internal rotation of the thighs, lengthening from the tailbone out to the crown of the head. You can put your hands at the hips to help you feel that 90-degree angle. And then exhale back to the fold. And then we'll step our hands to either side of the feet. Step one foot back, nice and long, or you can take many steps back. You can use the blocks. You can bend the knees, do what you need to do to bring those feet back. Bring the hands down to the mat. Roll to the balls of the feet as you inhale, shoulders over the wrists in your high plank for just a moment. And then we can exhale, bring the knees down, unload your ankles, your toes, bring the shins down for a modified high plank. And here we have about 5 breath cycles to feel strength in this modified high plank. Press down into the palms, have fingers splayed, middle and index fingers pointed towards the top, thumbs towards the inner part, and you're looking straight down. If you feel like your upper body is a little too far forward, bring the body a little back. You can always walk the hands forward or walk the shins back, whichever speaks to you. But we want that diagonal feeling of energy from the shins all the way to the crown of the head, and the core is always engaged, nice and strong, without being overly activated. If you were to bend your elbows, see that they're oriented towards the back of the mat. And once more, make sure the entirety of the palm, from the heel of the palm to the fingertips, and even horizontally from the thumb to the pinkies, it's all supporting the upper body weight as you lengthen through those extended arms. One more deep inhale. One more deep exhale. Engage your core. And then we can inhale, tuck our toes, and lift up the hips. Exhale, press the hips back into down dog, and see where your heels land. If they need adjustment, if your feet are a little too narrow, widen them to about hips distance apart. Now arms are about shoulder distance apart. If you're on the chair, you can always do this kind of upside down V with you just using the chair. Stepping back just a little bit and keeping that hinge at the hips. And using the forearms on the mat or forearms on the seat of the chair. You might come into your down dog, your version of down dog, and notice how that feels. See if you are rolling center or weight from the palms out towards an area that isn't supported by the entirety of the palm. We want to make sure you've got good support there. You might have to adjust the distance between the hands and the feet. And eventually we're working towards an upside down V shape where the hips are lifted up while the arms are pressing down and the legs are pressing down, heels getting ever closer to the mat, if not already on the mat, with a slight pigeon toe position. And at the apex of our upside down V, we've got that carved out belly, that really engaged core. With the next inhale, we've been here for about 5 breath cycles, at least I feel, so let's roll our eyes to the hands,
Bend the knees if you need. Take the blocks along with you if you're using them. And we are going to walk our hands to the back of the mat. Fully folded, exhaled into our fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. And inhale, step into the feet. Bend the knees if you need to. Roll or come on up with a straight back. Lift all the way up, reaching, pressing into the feet. And exhale, hands down, heart center. We're going to do that a couple more times. Inhaling, pressing into our palms. Left side of the body, balanced. Lift the right foot on the inhale. And step it forward. One full breath cycle per step. See how your body is speaking to you in this slow, mindful meditation. Engaged core all the way to the top of the mat to help keep you balanced. See if you can hear the ocean at the back of the throat with each inhale and exhale. And at the top of the mat, looking down at the fingertips or the block tops, pressing into the palms. Inhale, hands up. Reach all the way up, separate the palms, and exhale. Hinge at the hips, stick the tailbone back. Bend the knees if you need and float on down. A third fold or fourth. Walk on down. Come on down to another full fold. Exhaled. Inhale, half lift. Lengthen through the legs and the back. Exhale, fold once more. And then step the hands to either side of the feet. Use what props you need to come into your high plank. Inhaling, shoulders over the wrists. We're standing with we're planking with our long legs. A nice long hypotenuse from the heels to the crown of the head. And the core is slightly engaged to help stabilize that midriff right there. And as you're pressing into those palms, feeling strong in the shoulders, feeling the shoulder blades moving away from the spine, not retracting into the spine, you should be able to hold up a little more weight of the upper body, looking straight down and breathing deeply. We're here just for 3 breath cycles. And after that last exhale, let's inhale the hips up and exhale them back into our down dog. Give your final adjustments here again. You can walk your dog. You can roll to the balls of the feet and see if that helps you to lower the heels more. You can stay exactly where you are if that feels good to you. You can find that length from the tailbone down to the fingertips on the inhale. You can slightly move in a horizontal position, those hips, to feel that lengthening of the lats, of those rib cage muscles, of the lower back. And we're always, hopefully, with our head somewhere in between the upper shoulders, upper arm area. And those points of the elbows pointing back towards the mat will help us not to have our shoulders cave into our ears. And then we can inhale, roll our eyes to the top of the mat, to our hands, and then walk the hands to the back of the mat. Bend the knees if you need. We'll meet in our forward fold. Fully exhaled. Inhale, half lift. Spin those thigh bones back. Exhale, back to the fold. Press into the feet. Inhale, come on up, your choice. Slow roll up or with a straight back. And we reach up at the top, pressing into the feet. Exhaling, hands down, heart center. We're coming for our last walking meditation, pressing into the palms, lifting the right foot on the inhale. When you've got that balance, start stepping forward, 1 breath cycle per
per full step. Engaged core to help keep the balance. And feel that entire load on the forward foot, from the midfoot all the way to the ball of the foot and toes. And you can always launch from the back foot to help propel you forward. You can either land on the heel or the midfoot, whichever feels better to you. Pressing into the palms to help keep you focused. And hear your breath. At the top of the mat in our mountain, look down at the fingertips, press into the palms, and reach on the inhale to the top. Separate the palms, exhale, hinge at the hips, engaged core. Stick the tailbone back. Fully exhaled at the bottom of the fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Step the hands to either side of the feet. Step back into your high plank. Inhale, shoulders over the wrists. Stay here for 3 long, strong breath cycles. Inhale, hips up. Exhale, hips back into down dog. Inhale, hips, tailbone up, while you exhale through the arms and legs down, rooting down at the hands as well as the feet. Bend the knees if you need. Inhale, look towards the hands. Exhale, walk the hands, bent knees if you need, to the back of the mat, to your fold, fully exhaled here. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come on up. Pressing into the feet, lifting up. Exhaling, hands down, heart center. And finally down to the sides. Whew. Maybe you're a little warmer now. And then drinking a little water is nice. And do what you need to do. We're going to be moving into our balance pose. And one nice thing to think about with this is if you have issues with wobbling or looking up and maintaining your balance, you want to have a chair near you, the back of the chair. You want to be near a wall that you can reach out to. The ballet bar in the community room is a great item as well. But what we're just doing here is I'm going to bring the chair, the back of the chair, to turn around so that you can see, hopefully I'm not off camera here, but we're going to be straightening our torso and then stepping 1 foot back so we can extend through our hips. Maybe I should turn this all the way around. Okay, so having something here, if you have a tendency to wobble like that, especially as we're finding our mountain here, the feet are about hips distance apart. If you have a deep forward tilt of the pelvis, you'll be like I am right now, where you're kind of pitched forward with the torso. What we're trying to do is tuck under the tailbone, lift up through the chest, and therefore bring that pelvic bowl into more equal balance. It should be more of the tailbone downward. And to do that, you can think about pressing into the feet, internally rotating the thighs, and just keeping that shoulder, upper body, torso pitched right on top of the pelvic bowl. Sometimes you may need a little help with that if you've been pitched forward for a long time. Notice how your feet, if you're just trying to straighten up, if they roll outward, that's a very usual indication. You want to bring that equal distribution of weight there at the foundation of the feet. Travel those thighs inward slightly so you can feel the opening of the hips and lengthen through the legs. What we're moving towards is the shoulder over the hips, over the knees, over the ankles, eventually getting there. And if you can think about that, then a gentle tuck of the chin to bring the ears over the shoulders, over the hips, over the knees, over the ankles. And once we do that, we've got that chair nearby. And you can roll to the balls of your feet. If you can do that on your own, we're just going to stay there for just a moment, engage the calves, and then slowly let the heels downward. And that'll help us to regain that as well. You should feel a slight activation at the hips, at the glutes, and at the feet. It should feel nice and firm. We're going to go ahead and step with the left foot back, just slightly. You might just rest on the ball of the foot. Eventually want to bring that knee in a vertical position, so you might need to move more of the foot back. If you can rest the tops of your feet there, that's great. You don't have to though, but it's a nice stretch. Make sure we're not jutting out our right hip. That's a nice straight column. You should still have that same center feeling as we originally started with. And you can always use the back of the chair, the wall, the ballet bar to help keep you honest in this position. Now if you want to press down gently, you'll get a nice stretch of the toes. If you just want to have your tops of the toes slightly resting, that's fine too. Give yourself a good deep inhale, a good deep exhale, and then let's bring that foot back. We're going to do the same thing to the other side, bringing balance to your mountain here, because you should feel that engagement still in that right leg. We're just going to give ourselves a nice little roll to the balls of the feet once more. Hold that for a moment. And then exhale, slowly let the heels lower. And then we're going to gently lift the right foot and walk that back. You'll feel the engagement of the left thigh. And we're just not going to go far. We don't have to. We just need to be able to bring that foot back enough so that we have that right knee vertically positioned instead of out in front of the other foot. If you can rest the top of the foot, that's great. You might find a nice stretch to that muscle right there next to the shin bone. And again, you can press into it gently and engage the right glute. You can get a nice stretch all the way at the top of the leg, but you don't have to stay there. You can just rest it there. And notice how the center is on that left leg. We don't want to roll out towards the outer edge or the inner edge of the sole of the foot there. Just have that nice even distribution of weight. Okay, and then we can bring that foot back. Bringing both feet into even distribution of weight. You can do a gentle bounce. You can hold on to the chair if you'd like. You can give yourself some ankle rolls, both feet, both ankles. And then we're going to repeat this process once more, but we'll bring our arm up, the opposite arm in the second set here. So inhaling nice and tall in our mountain. Exhale, let's step the left foot back. Find that balance. And again, you can be on the tops of the toes. You can be just on the toe tips normally, whichever feels good to you. Once you're there, feeling balanced, we'll inhale, lift the right arm, and bring it straight alongside us. Take a breath here. Exhale. Engage the core, and you can start to lift the gaze. You don't have to go too high, but you can lift the gaze. Feel that right glute engaged to keep you steady. One more deep inhale. And then exhale, bring that right hand down, right arm down, and then bring the left foot back into our mountain. Give ourselves a moment or two, do what movement feels good, and we'll continue to the other side. Inhaling, exhale, step that right foot back. See where you would like to put the toes. Bring that right knee vertical. And then we're going to inhale the left arm up. And it doesn't have to be totally vertical. If you're not able to bring the shoulder out but to a tangent, that's fine too. We're working towards a verticality so that you can lift up at the chest, but do what you can where you can. Inhaling here, exhaling, engaging the left glute. And then we can exhale that left hand down, bring the right foot back. And give yourself any movement to release from there. You can once more come up to the balls of the feet, slowly bring yourself down. You can tap out the knees. You can roll each ankle individually. Do what feels good to release. And then that's the end of that. We can move on down to our mat. And we're going to end this one with just a nice little windshield wipe. So find yourself in a bridge position. If you need to use the chair, you're just going to be sitting with the sits bones at the edge of the front of the chair or the side. Just depends on if you like to hold the back of the chair. But you'll have your knees at a 90-degree angle. You can also just use the chair and your blocks to come on down to the mat for your usual bridge position. But if you're in the chair, don't feel obligated to come all the way back to the mat. But once you find yourself on your back, you want to keep your feet about hips distance apart. If you'd like the blocks nearby, keep them there. When we go to move our knees to one side, you may feel good to have the blocks there to kind of land on. If you're not used to bringing the knees, thighs all the way down to one side with each of your extended windshield wipes. So the spine and the neck are in one alignment. You're looking straight up. The knees are straight up towards the ceiling. If you're in the chair, you've got a 90-degree angle at the knees and the hips, and your sits bones are at the edge of the chair. And here we're just going to allow, if you're in the chair, come up to the balls of the feet so you can gently windshield wipe to one side. If you're on the mat in your bridge, you're just rolling to the one side of your feet. I'm choosing the left side, but just go to whichever side you like. If you're not able to move the knees all the way down to the floor or to the one side, you might have that block there to kind of land on. And give yourself an extended couple of breaths here. We want to feel nice and relaxed in this extended windshield wipe. Want to feel that top leg. If you're all the way down to the mat, you want to feel that top leg releasing as much as possible through that right hip. If you're windshield wipe to the left side there. And you might find the tops of the ankles even getting some release. And more of your bottom leg might be making contact with the mat. You can lift the right shoulder with you if you need to, but if you're able to keep it on the mat, you'll get a nice gentle twist, hopefully, at the waist. And you can always extend through the arms at a T or at more of an upside down V, whichever speaks to you. But with the palms up, you should have a nice relaxed extension. Breathe here for 5 to 10 breath cycles. And if you're in the chair, keep the spine upright while you just gently let the knees roll to the left. And you might be able to bring down your heels. We're just finding that nice, gentle
twist at the waistline, and hopefully finding some relief in the hips as well. You've got your left hip in external rotation, right hip in internal rotation, with the knees getting closer and closer to this left side if you're on that side. If you're on the other side, it's the opposite. With each inhale, finding the achiness, bringing your awareness to it, so that with each exhale, you might find it releasing. You may find an exhale releases something you had not thought was engaged and was tight. And as we prepare to come out, you may need to use your arms to help assist your legs upwards, but we're going to engage our core on the inhale and focus on bringing the sacrum, the back of the pelvis, back onto the mat, and the knees should just follow along. Try not to use your hands if you don't have to, but engage your core either way. And then readjust your bridge once more. If you're in the chair, you're just bringing your knees back into alignment so you're in that 90-90 position. Give yourself a good breath or two here to reset. And then we're going to windshield wipe slowly to the other side. Keep your block right about where that is if you used it before. But on the inhale, a nice deep inhale to lengthen, and then exhale, just let the knees drop to one side, to your right side if you're there now. You're just rolling on the edge of your feet. If you're in your bridge on the mat, you can roll to your balls of your feet if you're on the chair. But eventually you can roll down your heels if you're in the chair. You're finding that sweet spot for the first 3 to 5 breaths. You might have that block there, but maybe as you begin your 5th breath cycle, you can remove it. And at that sweet spot, we can breathe our 5 to 10 breath cycles. 5 really nice slow breaths, or maybe there are 10 little shorter breath cycles. And as we do each side, sometimes we just have a different experience on one side than the other. Just note any differences. And let your yogic breath guide you in your last few breath cycles. They really do help. And after your last breath, let's go ahead and inhale. Bring the sacrum, the knees back up to center. Come on back to the soles of the feet. And give yourself any counter movement. Maybe it's just you rocking on your backside, getting a nice little glute massage, sacrum massage. Maybe it's you just gently pivoting out the heels so you can let the knees knock inward for just a moment. Either way, we'll bring ourselves back to our bridge position of the knees and the heel to toe alignment. And let's move into our final Shavasana pose. If you're in the chair, just get nice and comfortable in your 90 degree hip and knee position. If you're on the mat, just lengthen out, get your last minute moves either way to kind of release anything. You can always wiggle the toes, lengthen the legs, point the toes, flex the feet, tap out the knees. Do what you need to do to relax. Put a folded blanket under the low back if you need. Prop up your knees with blocks if you need. I'll be sitting up to mind the time as you lay down in Shavasana. Gentle closing of the eyes or a complete relaxing and closing of the eyes. Soft belly, arms relaxed at your side. And just let the body respond. When you hear the 3 bells, we'll awaken.
Bringing the mind back to the body, taking note of sounds inside the room, and finally to the breath. You can wiggle your toes, fingers, make any movement that feels comfortable as you reconnect to your body vessel. We'll meet in an upright seated position. Finish our class with our breath of fire. So as we're in our upright seated position, you want to have your sits bones nice and tall, your spine upright at a vertical position to that lower pelvic area. We'll be using our 30 breaths. The very last exhale is a slow exhale. Imagine emptying the belly of any energy, air, and we're going to then hold the pelvic floor, tuck our chin, and hold the breath for about 3 to 5 breath cycles, about 3 to 5 seconds. And so starting with a good inhale, purse your lips, and exhale through the pursed lips now. Fully exhaled. Inhale. Tuck the chin. Keep the inhale and exhale in the small area. And then release the breath. We're going to do that one more time, sitting up nice and tall. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through pursed lips. Fully exhaled. Lift the pelvic floor, chin tuck, and hold the breath for 3 to 5 seconds. Then release the breath. Let the breath come back to its natural state. Bringing hands to heart center. Thank you so much for joining us here at the community room of the ACC. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste. Thank you.